everybody. Hello, Pennsylvania. All right. The reason I ran around that corner is because we want to get to hear from Kamala Harris in a couple of minutes, but I want you to know something. I know we didn't practice this, but I have two questions for every Pennsylvanian in this audience, even if you're not from Pennsylvania. I got two questions. The first question, you ready? Are you ready to win for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? Yeah. And the second question is, are you ready to win for everyone on our ticket? Now, look, I don't have to tell this crowd anything about Kamala Harris's record of public service. You know her. You know her days as a prosecutor putting away dangerous criminals, to her time in the United States Senate and as vice president, fighting for women's rights, voting rights, and workers' rights. You know her service as vice president, as Democrats brought jobs and investment back to our Commonwealth. You also know that Vice President Harris, over and over again, has proven that she's ready to serve as our president and our commander-in-chief on day one. And I am certain that you know the last thing I'm about to say. Not the entire last thing, but what I'm about to say next. You know as well that she is ready to defeat Donald Trump. So, I know that we have some union members in this audience. Put your hand up. Thank you. Thank you to the men and women of organized labor who give strength to our party and lead our nation. And those union members and their families remind us all the time that this race is about a lot of big issues. But at its core, in terms of our economy, this is a race about working families. It's a race about whether we're going to come together to lower costs for families, fight the fentanyl crisis, and take care of our children, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. Look, these are the people that I've fought for every day of my life as a public official, and I'm going to keep fighting for them when we win this year. Now, I'm running in a big Senate race, and I want you to I want to spend a couple minutes on my opponent. Just want to give him a little time here. So my opponent, as you know, is a former hedge fund executive, right? You may not know that he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And he started to put some of that money into this race. But let me tell you some more things about him you may not know. My opponent lied about living in Pennsylvania when he was living in a $16 million mansion in Connecticut. He also lied about how he grew up. He said that he started with nothing. That's a direct quotation. He said he started with nothing, even though his father was a university president. He was lucky to grow up the way he did, just like I was lucky. But why would he tell some Abe Lincoln story when we know what the truth is? There's more. David McCormick also lied about creating hundreds of jobs in our state. He doesn't understand this Commonwealth. He doesn't understand the people that make this state what it is. Here's what he did. He's flown in on a private jet from Connecticut to his campaign events, and then he's flown back to Connecticut in the same corporate jet. There's more. While running the world's largest hedge fund in Connecticut, and all the while getting rich off investments in China, he didn't vote in Pennsylvania for 15 years. Here's a radical idea. I think you should know the people that you seek to represent, right? I was born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My wife, Therese, and I have raised our daughters in Pennsylvania. We still live in Scranton, Pennsylvania today, and Pennsylvania will always be my home. And you all know what kind of Commonwealth we have. You live it every day. We live in a Commonwealth where we strive to be a Commonwealth in life as well as in name. And I've worked every day as a public official to lift up your voices as your representative. And I've also listened to you when you told me about your struggles and the struggles of your families. And that's why I've taken on some tough fights. I'm leading the fight in Washington against corporate greed, calling out greedflation. You know what that is. You see it all the time. When you go to the grocery store, big corporations jacking up the price of food, jacking up the price of household items, and making you pay more. We ought to take on that corporate greed. We ought to pass a price gouging bill to go after them, and we should take away their big tax cuts. My opponent has a different view. He excused those big companies. He thinks I'm being too tough on the big companies. He's criticized me for that. He also wants to repeal the law that you helped us pass to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. That is wrong, and we're never going to let him do that. He's also promised to continue to perpetuate those obscene corporate tax cuts from 2017. And you know what? Because he has that position, and because I voted against that obscene bill, David McCormick has had the benefit of these big billionaires, these out-of-state billionaires supporting an out-of-state candidate, coming in to prop him up and to pay for 80% of his advertising. That's what they're doing to reward him. Look, I think it's pretty clear from his record as a hedge fund executive that David McCormick will do anything to make a buck, anything to make money. And he does that even when it hurts the people of our state. He invested millions in Chinese military companies that make fighter jets, bombers, and missiles. And while we, all of us across our state, were fighting against fentanyl that's trafficked from China that kills over 4,000 Pennsylvanians each year, David McCormick, listen to this one, David McCormick, as a hedge fund executive, invested millions of dollars in China's largest producer of fentanyl. You're damn right, boo. I believe that you deserve a senator who's on your side, who's not out for himself. Pennsylvanians can't trust David McCormick to look out for you and your families. He's only going to be looking out for rich guys like himself. He's proven that. And lastly, a big issue in this race. We can't trust him to stand up for reproductive rights for women. He said in 2022 when he was running for the United States Senate that he supports an abortion ban with no exceptions for rape and for incest. He called the overturning of Roe v. Wade a, quote, great victory, unquote. I don't think ripping away a 49-year constitutional right is a great victory. My daughters, just like your daughters, should not have fewer rights than their mothers. So, were he to be elected, he will not support the Women's Health Protection Act, which we tried to pass in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision. So I think the differences are pretty clear, and you know them, and you know some more of them maybe after what I said. But here's what I want to tell you. We got a lot of work to do. We've got about 90 days, 90, 91, depending on how you count them. We've got a lot of work to do here in Pennsylvania. You know that. We know that we must win Pennsylvania to win the presidency, right? And we must win Pennsylvania to preserve this majority in the United States Senate. We have to do that. So, I'd ask you to do something for me. Please take out your phone if you can do that. Take out your phone and join and text us. Text the following: join, JOIN, to 51041. 51041, and sign up to help us in this campaign. I'm grateful for your willingness to do that, because here's what we know about our state. We know that in Pennsylvania we know how to mobilize, we know how to organize. Pennsylvania is where freedom began, and we know how to fight for freedom in Pennsylvania. So, my fellow Pennsylvanians, I only got one more question for you, maybe two. Got two more questions for you. Are you ready to go out and fight for our freedoms? Are you ready to go out and defeat David McCormick and the out-of-state billionaires trying to buy this Senate seat? And I'll just add one more. Are you ready to go out and make sure that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz win? Let's go out and win this race.